Right now, without noticing, your muscles are getting shorter. Not dramatically, not all at once, but shorter. Every day you spend sitting, driving, scrolling, your body is quietly rewriting itself. And most people never stretch again after high school gym class. So, what actually happens if you just stop? To understand this, you have to go inside the muscle itself. Not the muscle you flex in the mirror, the muscle at the cellular level, made of tiny repeating units called sarcomeres, which are the basic contracting blocks of every movement you've ever made. Here's the part almost nobody knows. Muscles don't just stretch. They physically add or remove sarcomeres depending on the length they're regularly held at. Hold a muscle short for long enough, and your body assumes that's the new normal. It starts removing sarcomeres. The muscle literally shortens its own architecture to match your habits. This isn't a theory from a wellness blog. It's decades-old physiology, first documented in animal studies on muscle immobilization, and later confirmed in human tissue research. Researchers going back to work, published by Goldspink in the 1970s, showed that muscles held in a shortened position for weeks actually lost sarcomeres in series. The muscle adapted to its cage. Your body does this too, every single day. Think about your hip flexors right now. If you sit for 8, 9, 10 hours, your hips are locked in a shortened position almost the entire time you're awake. Your body doesn't know you're just sitting. It only knows the position you're holding, and it adapts. Over months, over years, this shortening becomes structural, not just tight, structurally altered. So what happens if you never stretch to counter this? The first thing you lose is range of motion. This part is well established. A systematic review led by researcher Daniel Freitas and colleagues, examining what happens when regular stretching stops, found that flexibility gains fade within about 4 weeks of detraining. 4 weeks. That's all it takes to lose ground you spent months building. But range of motion is just the visible symptom. The deeper cost is mechanical. Shortened muscles pull on the joints they cross. A tight hip flexor tilts your pelvis forward. A tight hamstring flattens the natural curve of your lower back. A tight chest rounds your shoulders inward. None of this feels dramatic in the moment. It feels like nothing. That's the trap, because the body compensates. If one muscle group locks up, a neighboring group works overtime to keep you moving normally. Your lower back picks up slack from tight hips. Your neck picks up slack from a tight upper back. You don't feel the original tightness. You feel the compensation. Years later, as a mysterious ache in a joint that was never actually the problem. Here's where it gets stranger. Stretching isn't really about the muscle at all. Not primarily. For decades, researchers assumed stretching worked by physically elongating muscle fibers, like taffy. But work by scientists including Dwayne Knutson challenged that assumption directly. Most of the immediate flexibility you gain from a single stretch isn't from the tissue lengthening. It's from your nervous system changing its tolerance to the sensation of stretch. Your brain, not your muscle, decides how far is safe to go. So when you stop stretching entirely, you're not just letting tissue shorten. You're letting your nervous system recalibrate downward. It resets its threshold for what counts as too far, too soon. This means the flexibility you lose isn't purely physical. Some of it is protective. Your brain, sensing you no longer move through a range, decides that range is no longer necessary to allow. Isn't that strange? Your own nervous system quietly voting to shrink your world. There's a name some researchers use for this broader pattern: use-dependent plasticity. The body, and the nervous system controlling it, shapes itself around whatever you repeatedly do. or repeatedly fail to do. Stop reaching overhead, and eventually, reaching overhead requires effort. Stop rotating your spine, and eventually, rotation feels foreign. Stop crouching low to the ground, and eventually, your ankles won't allow it. This is why toddlers can squat flat-footed with a straight spine indefinitely, and why most adults can't hold that same position for 30 seconds without their heels lifting off the ground. Nobody's ankles are broken. They've just spent decades voting against that range of motion, one missed stretch at a time. Now here's the twist inside the twist. You might assume the fix is simple. Stretch more and you reverse all of it. But the relationship between stretching and long-term flexibility is messier than that. A widely cited Cochrane review, led by researcher Rob Herbert, looking specifically at stretching before or after exercise, found it had little effect on preventing next-day muscle soreness. Static stretching alone, done occasionally, isn't a magic reset button. Consistency matters more than intensity. A daily 2-minute stretch outperforms a single heroic 30-minute session once a month. This is the counterintuitive part almost every fitness trend gets backwards. It's not about how hard you stretch. It's about how often your body receives the signal that a longer range is required and safe. Your muscles and your nervous system are both, in their own way, listening for permission. Permission to stay long. Permission to stay mobile. Withhold that permission for years, and the body assumes you've chosen otherwise. So picture two versions of you 20 years from now. One version never stretched again after today. Hips locked from sitting. Shoulders rounded from screens. A lower back doing the work of 3 different muscle groups it was never meant to cover for. Not injured, just quietly narrower. A smaller version of what movement used to mean. The other version gave their body 2 minutes a day, not for flexibility as a performance, for flexibility as a message. A signal sent to muscle and nervous system alike. This range still matters. Keep it. Same genetics, same job, same chair. Completely different bodies built from completely different signals repeated across thousands of ordinary days. The wildest part of all this is how invisible the mechanism is. There's no single dramatic moment where stretching matters. No injury to point to, no clear before and after. Just a slow, silent negotiation between what you do and what your body decides you're capable of. Your muscles are listening to your habits, not your intentions. Your nervous system is voting based on your patterns, not your plans. And every day you skip, the body quietly adjusts its assumptions about what you'll need tomorrow. So the next time you sit down for hours without moving, remember what's actually happening underneath. Not stiffness, not laziness. A living structure, cell by cell, sarcomere by sarcomere, adapting to become whatever you repeatedly ask of it. And whether you notice or not, right now, your body is already answering that question.